The market seems boring right now, but this might be one of the better times to buy. With a lot of people tuning out, with views down, with searches for Bitcoin hitting new yearly lows, typically it's a good time to be buying when there's fear. And we're in fear right now. Let's talk about that. Let's also talk about what you would do with $1,000 today. But I'm not setting up this portfolio. I'm actually going to have Tyler Hill, who has his own channel. I'll leave a link to it underneath this video so you can go follow him there. We're going to start with him breaking down his portfolio, what he'd create if he had $1,000 here today. If you don't mind, hit subscribe. Turn on the bell notification underneath the video so you can see future videos like this. Also, if you want to trade cryptocurrencies, if you want to try to get outsized returns, there's a link to Margex underneath the video where you can trade all different kinds of cryptos with different forms of collateral without KYC, and you don't need a VPN. They're also doing a huge Caspa airdrop up to $5,000 in Caspa tokens. All right, we have a bit of a problem. Last time we had Tyler on, we had some great videos, but we did not get him enough subscribers. People have not moved over there yet enough. We need to get him up to a couple thousand, I think. But let's get into the video. What we could do with $1,000, how a portfolio might be positioned with $1,000 in it. Tyler, thanks so much for coming back on the channel. Let's jump right into it.
Absolutely. So if I had $1,000, I think honestly it'd be pretty easy the way that I would kind of set this up. Okay. And let me just break this down into percentages because I'm not the best in math, but I am okay with percents. Okay. So currently speaking, I would still be going probably about 25% roughly into Bitcoin. Okay. Now, the reason I would do that is quite simply because where we are right now, and I can probably show this, let me see. Where we are at this given point in the market is we're still well within altcoin season. So here we go. I mean, you can see it here. We're still, or sorry, not altcoin season. We're in Bitcoin season. We're at a 20 rating on the altcoin season index, and we've been here for quite a while. And in times like this, what this quite simply means is that the market is likely going to be led by Bitcoin. You go look at Bitcoin dominance, it's constantly trending upwards. You look at Bitcoin's overall performance in comparison to almost anything, it's going to just be performing better. And I think that reasonably and realistically, we've seen Bitcoin be in control and in charge of this market for sometimes years at a time, right? It could be up to a year, it could be up to 2 years before we really see that change. And so, of course, because of that, not knowing, are we going to go up? Are we going to go down? Putting money into the thing that is the most likely to perform the best is obviously something that makes a ton of sense. So even saying it out loud, I'd probably bump that up to 30%. Okay. Now, the thing about that is, though, in moments like this, right, in which we are in Bitcoin season, it's not altcoin season. Altcoins are being underperformed. It typically means that the best days for altcoins are still in front of us. And that's where I draw the most excitement from, because it's like, sure, the short term might be a little bit choppy for alts, but the long term should still hold a lot of upside. And so because of that, what I would typically say is that there's still the whole altcoin cycle in front of us, realistically. There's still the moment in which your top 10s are going to perform well. Then your top 20s. Then you're going to see things in the top 25 replace things in the top 10. Then you're going to see these pre-sales and meme coins really start to catch some momentum, and then they're going to start jumping into the top 100. All of that's still in front of us. I don't think that's happened yet. I think we saw a mini version of it this year, but I don't think we saw the real thing happen yet. And so since that's so exciting and there are stable, kind of easy 3Xs or 5Xs, what I would do with my remaining 70%, now I would put another 30% into my top 10s. I'd be looking at things like BNB. I'd be looking at things like Solana. I'd be looking at things like maybe even Ton. I know Telegram's going through some weird stuff right now. I know that's a little bit of an odd situation. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out, but oftentimes it pans out for the best, right? I mean, you look at Binance when CZ got arrested. It didn't really change much over the long term, right? And so in my opinion, I would say that knowing that Solana could still 4X from here, knowing that BNB could hit $1,500 at some point or $1,200, whatever it may be, knowing that those things are still possible and those are pretty safe bets. I don't think BNB is going anywhere. I don't think Sol's going anywhere. I would definitely be going more heavily into that, ready to shift out of those when the time comes. So 30% Bitcoin, 30% into your top 10s. With my remaining 40%, I would go now 20% into those ones that are not quite top 10, but not quite bottom of the barrel quite yet, right? I'm not taking any big risks right now because, again, a lot of the gains are still in front of us. So what I would be looking for are those altcoins that I think are going to end up replacing some of my top 15 or top 20s. What that looks like for me, I think of Caspa, I think of Rndr, I think of Jasmy. I think of some of those ones that actually provide a value. They have great communities that have been supporting them even throughout this summer lull that we've been in, right? You look at Jasmy. Jasmy videos are getting more views right now than they were 3 months ago. Those types of ones that have those communities that are diehard fans, kind of cultish a little bit, are always the ones that end up jumping into the top 15, jumping into the top 20. We saw it from Ton way before Ton hit the top 20. And I think that's what's going to end up happening here. And so, in my opinion, I'm probably diversifying maybe not even 20. I'm probably going more close to 25, 30% into those select few that I'd be willing to bet will jump back into the top 10 or top 15. I think AVAX has fallen outside of that top 10. I can't remember what its market cap is right now, but that's one that I think as Solana is going to continue to do well, AVAX is going to be following behind it. So maybe even one like that. Then with my remaining 10, 15%, I'd probably be going for some of my very popular meme coins, like my very popular ones. Let's say if I have 10% left, I'll go 7.5% into my most popular meme coins. And in that regard, we're talking Brett. We're talking maybe even Pepe. We're talking some of those ones that are between $1 billion to 500 million, because there will be ones, I think Brett's a good example of this, that will hit $5 billion, $10 billion in market cap when this market does hit real altcoin season. I don't think now is the time to really be buying a lot of meme coins, but picking some of them up right now in preparation for that, the ones that are more established, again, like your Boys Club ones, your Pepe ones, your Shibas, etc. I'd be doing that. My last 2.5%, that's what I'm throwing at my gambles, right? Because there will be something that's going to pop up from 1 million to 100 million or 5 million to 400 million. That will happen, but it's not really going to happen all that often right now. And so the general breakdown of what I would do is, again, 30% Bitcoin, 30% to your like top 10, top 15s. I would then allocate probably somewhere around 30% roughly to those ones that I think are going to clear that top 15 and go from maybe number 30, number 40, number 50 up to 20, 15, 10. And then I'm allocating 7.5% to some of my smaller meme coins that are really exciting, like your Bretts, like your Pepes, those ones. And then I'm allocating my bottom 2.5% towards your gamble plays, if you will. So,
sure. And then when would you be looking to sell it, or are you just going to hold it forever? And then I guess the other question is too, would you, if you had a steady income too, would you keep on throwing more and more money at this, or like is diversification something that you would pay attention to? Maybe don't put all your eggs in the crypto basket. What are you thinking with that?
I definitely wouldn't put all your eggs in the crypto basket. And that's kind of my thing, but that's me. My kind of where I am personally at this point is I am big on diversification, but that's because I'm happy with the size of my crypto portfolio in regards to the percentage of my net worth. My crypto portfolio is roughly 30% of my net worth. I don't really want it to be much higher than that, because now you're starting to take unnecessary risks, right? And so to what you said in terms of like selling, the way that I'm currently approaching this right now is I am kind of looking at it from a cyclical perspective, right? So as Bitcoin is continuing to do well, I would continue to dollar cost average into Bitcoin. I would dollar cost average into that whole 100% that I just told you. I'd continue to do that now. Once we start to see altcoin season kick off, what I would probably do, take profits off of my Bitcoin portfolio and just take them and just keep them, right? Because I made the mistake last cycle of not taking enough profits as each cycle came to an end. And what I did is I reinvested it back into the next cycle. And I made a mistake because sometimes it doesn't work in order. And so, as my Bitcoin goes up, I'm up. I think my average cost on Bitcoin is around $31,000 right now. So if Bitcoin, or 32.5, if Bitcoin goes up to 100,000, the mistake that I made last cycle was I took that, that profit that I had there, and then I started putting it into alts. Then I started putting it into smaller alts and smaller alts. And the issue is that it works, and I compounded really well. And I would do that to a small degree, but by constantly reinvesting all the profits, if you miss that top, you are going to burn a lot of profits very fast. And my mistake was I invested into a bunch of private sales, a bunch of early investments and things like that, because that was supposed to be the next cycle, and then it ended early. And I was in with hundreds of thousands of dollars in private sales that never really transpired into anything. And so the way that I would go about it is it's each one of these cycles. You can tell when it's happening. As each little cycle ends, I'm taking the profit, taking probably 75% of that, putting it in my pocket, taking 25% and putting it into the next cycle. So it could look like Bitcoin dominance starts changing a little bit. Altcoin season starts to pop off. I might take profits off of that, take 25%, put it into more of my altcoins. Once altcoins are really starting to get a little bit toppy, maybe I'll funnel 75% of my profits out of that, take 25% of that, put into some of the smaller plays, private sales and stuff. And then once those have their moment, everything will be rallying. That's around where the top should be. And that's when I'm really going to start to funnel money out of the market. So that's kind of the idea. But real time, we'll see, of course, the in-game footage.
Yeah, the key is to always be uncomfortable. I find like if I'm uncomfortable selling, that's probably a good time to sell. If I'm uncomfortable buying, that's probably a good time to buy. Tyler, thanks so much for coming back on the channel. I think that was awesome. Obviously, we'll have to have you back on. We'll put your link underneath. There's also a link to Margex. As we're speaking, Bitcoin's moving up. So if you want to trade, if you want to long the market, short the market, if you want to add that into part of your strategy, there's that link underneath. Tyler, thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.